called Guided Innovation. I work as a project learning coordinator and I deliver engaging training sessions to customers who are implementing new technology.
And I'm Jen. I'm a project and change manager at Guided Innovation. I've worked in and around social care for the last 20 years, and I help companies implement new technology in their environments, be that supported living, dom care, residential care, anywhere in the social care sector. So why is trialling essential? Trials are one of the best ways to get everyone on board with change. People don't resist change because they're lazy or negative. They resist it because they're overwhelmed, excluded, nervous, or don't believe there is a problem to be fixed. A trial is an opportunity to be inclusive. When frontline staff are involved in shaping and testing the solution, even just a small group, you get their buy-in early. They help refine how it's used and they become your advocates. Let's say you're trialing a digital care planning product. Involve 2 or 3 key workers, not just your manager, to design the templates, test the user interface, and capture their feedback. Their input is a key part of the project and it provides them with a sense of ownership. Let's not forget the people we support. They're not just passive recipients of change. Engage them too. Ask them how they feel about sensors or medication alerts. Listen to their family's opinions. Bring them along on your journey. Engagement during a trial phase gives you insight, improves outcomes, and reduces resistance. You're not dictating a change, you're co-producing it. A trial lets you see the tech in action, not in theory, on paper, or in a slick supplier demo where everything is always perfect. Real-world environments are messy. You've got legacy systems and processes, mixed tech knowledge and confidence across your staff team, and different levels of need across those you support. A trial is your opportunity to assess in the real world, your real world, how does that rostering tool integrate with our payroll? Does this medication app really work in a busy care home at 7 o'clock in the handover? It's not about proving the tech is perfect. It's about understanding how it fits your environment. Does it work with the hardware you've already got? Can your staff use it intuitively? Are the features relevant or are they just nice to have? That's what a tech trial provides, a practical sense of whether the solution really meets your operational needs. Trials let you spot issues early, when the stakes are low and the damage is minimal. Without a trial, you risk discovering problems after a full implementation, when everything's integrated and change fatigue may have set in. By then, it's harder to adjust and much more expensive to backtrack. A structured trial lets you monitor for operational problems like, does this integrate with our HR system, or does it glitch when the internet dips? But it also surfaces softer issues like staff feeling rushed or email, for example. A trial might reveal that alerts are too frequent, they cause alarm fatigue, and then staff begin to ignore them. That's invaluable feedback, and during a trial, you can tweak, adjust, and try again without wider fallout. Early spotting means early learning, and it gives you confidence, because by the time you scale, you're not guessing, you've already pressure tested it in your real-life environment. Failing fast. This might sound like a bad thing, but it's actually a positive. Social care is a high-pressure environment, and although failure sounds terrifying, innovation comes with risk, and not every solution will work. What matters is that you identify what doesn't work early, learn from it, and move forward smarter. Failing fast in a trial means discovering this app isn't intuitive enough. This process creates duplication before you spent time and money rolling it out everywhere. And remember, failing during a trial isn't a failure of leadership or decision-making. It's a sign that you're doing risk management properly. Regulators don't expect perfection, but they do expect intention, evidence, learning, and adjustment. And that's what a structured trial provides. So, how do you trial a solution? Option number 1, you can outsource it. Might feel like a luxury or even giving up control, but it is an informed and considered decision to utilize a specialist resource. You wouldn't ask a plumber to fly a plane. Outsourcing to someone like us can be the smartest way to reduce risk and increase your chances of success. We bring the strategy, structure, and shortcuts because we've done it before, many times in many different settings. We understand the tech market, regulatory constraints, and the unique pressures of health and social care. That means we can help you pick the right tool, manage compliance early, engage stakeholders, and avoid the common pitfalls. One of the biggest hidden barriers to trialing tech is procurement. It can be time-consuming and complex. As your partner, we can manage or support that procurement process, whether that is formally tendering with portals and their legislative requirements, or informally without the requirement for so much red tape. From early market engagement and supplier shortlisting right through to due diligence and contracting, we make sure you're not just buying a product, but selecting a solution that aligns with your operational requirements. You're not having to rely on glossy sales pitches or the silver tongue of a really good salesman who actually has a shockingly bad product. We help you to evaluate the potential solutions in a structured, transparent way that prioritizes what matters most to your service. Outsourcing also brings clarity and a structured approach to your trial, with defined and agreed success metrics, ethical safeguards, and built-in risk management. This doesn't just protect you, it also helps to build trust with regulators and stakeholders. And speed. In-house trials can often stall due to competing priorities. With a partner, you've got a dedicated delivery team whose only job is to make the trial work. Outsourcing isn't about hiring a consultant to give you a PowerPoint presentation and then walk away, unless that's what you need. We can also do that. In this context, we are a partner who brings resource capacity, especially important when your teams are stretched thin. We can handle supplier coordination, project timelines, training design, feedback gathering. You still lead the vision, we help make it real, efficiently and without distracting you from your core, most important job, delivering care and support. Now I finished banging on about how great we are and what we can bring to the table. Other companies are available. Your next option is a DIY approach. This might be your route if you've already got experience of doing this before, or you want to keep tight control, reduce costs, or give your internal teams an opportunity to lead a change initiative. There's a lot to be said for this model. Your team already understands your culture, the people you support, your own unique challenges. So when given the right tools and time, they can be incredibly effective. Be mindful of using cost saving as an overall deciding factor. Although it may seem that you'll be saving money by doing it yourself, this is not always the case. Inexperience, lack of knowledge, and limited time available from existing staff can make projects lag, and the benefits of any new system be pushed further into the distance or sometimes never come to fruition at all. Ensure that you take an analytical approach to spending money up front to ensure that the change you are looking for can be achieved as effectively and efficiently as possible. DIY trials align well with organisational developmental goals. You're not just testing a piece of tech, you're building internal capacity for innovation. This can be deeply empowering for your staff. It also is often more flexible. You can adjust as you go, adapt based on what your staff are telling you, and experiment in a way that feels low pressure. But DIY trials can struggle without dedicated time, clarity of purpose, leadership backing. Change needs structure. Without it, trials drag on, feedback is inconsistent, and momentum can be lost. You also need to make sure that your team has the right skills to handle risk assessment, regulatory alignment, technical questions. If not, bring in support where needed. DIY doesn't have to mean totally going it alone. To make DIY work, treat it as a formal project, assign a lead, define what success looks like, create timelines, hold check-ins, capture learning, celebrate wins, and crucially, communicate. Bring your people with you and make sure they understand the why, not just the what. That's how you build confidence and not create chaos.
So why is social care risk averse? The fear. We want to improve care, but we're scared to try new things. Change can feel overwhelming, especially when it involves technology. For many in the world of social care, the idea of going digital might stir up a mix of emotions. The fear of the unknown, worries about losing the human touch, or just anxiety around not being tech savvy enough. But change can be gentle. We don't have to go from zero to digital hero overnight. It's okay to learn step by step. It's okay to ask questions, and it's okay to take it slow. This is your journey and you're not alone. The consequences. Stakes are high. We're faced with regulators. We have safeguarding concerns and workforce pressures. We work in a sector where potentially every decision we make may affect somebody's safety, their dignity, their well-being. But if something isn't working anymore, not improving it is a bigger risk. The solution isn't to avoid the problem, nor to run away from it or hide, but to actually embrace it, to find a piece of tech to resolve it. Yes, nobody likes change, and it takes courage. But we work within a sector already where you work within a compassionate, person-centered field. So actually, if anyone can embrace change with heart, then it's this sector. Understanding. We don't want to confuse risk management with risk avoidance anymore. In the sector, playing it safe usually means we're avoiding risk altogether, but risk should always be a part of care. When somebody falls over, we don't pick them up and start wrapping them up in bubble wrap, because care is about empowering them to live fully, even if it means taking a risk. Risk management is about supporting informed decisions, not eliminating uncertainty. And tech is helping us do that already, from digital records to fall detectors. So actually, let's use tech to manage risk, not to avoid life. The what if culture, a very powerful force that we have within this sector. We're trained to think worst case scenario. What if somebody falls? What if the system fails? What if we implement a new technology and it goes wrong and we look unprofessional? But actually, we need to start thinking better and ask better questions. We can't let fear dictate the future. So actually, let's flip the what if into something like, what if a digital medication system reduced errors? What if sensors help someone stay at home for longer? What if tech freed up care workers to do what they do best? Or what if a digital rostering reduced agencies? We need to stop letting the what if culture silence the possibility of actually, what if it makes things better? Because the people we support deserve the best of what's possible, not just the safest version of what already exists.
In social care, regulation isn't just background noise. It shapes how we operate every single day. And rightly so. We're working with people's lives, their dignity, their safety. But that landscape is complex and for good reason. Depending on where you're based in the UK, you'll be guided by different regulators, CQC, CIW, CIS. All of these bodies have slightly different frameworks and language, but at their core, they share the same mission to make sure care is safe, effective, person-centred, responsive and well-led. And in every one of those areas, the thoughtful introduction of technology can actually support compliance if done the right way. Regardless of which regulator or commissioner we're talking about, ultimately, they all want to see that care services respect people's rights and preferences, keep people safe from harm, support well-being and independence, have robust systems for training, oversight and quality assurance, are responsive to changing needs and circumstances. They're not looking for perfection. They're looking for intentionality, transparency, and evidence that you're thinking things through. We often wait until inspection time to think about regulation, which are often seen as red tape, something to be worked around or managed under pressure. But if you're trialling new technology, early engagement with regulators is one of the smartest moves you can make. They're not anti-tech, they're pro-accountability. And when you can demonstrate how your tech trials support safer care, better oversight, clearer documentation, accessible data, appropriate consent, improved responsiveness, you're not just compliant on paper, you're demonstrating real lived quality, what inspectors want to see. So yes, regulation can feel daunting, but it's not the enemy of innovation. In fact, it's what helps to ensure innovation is safe, effective, and sustainable. Overall, regulatory oversight is our reality, the landscape in which we all operate. It's not optional and it's not static. So in your trials, don't focus on will this pass inspection? Think more along the lines of how can this support our regulatory responsibilities? Because when done right, for example, implementing e-rostering, which has been repeatedly proven to ensure better continuity of care, that new tech can help strengthen your compliance whilst working in line with those regulations we sometimes wish weren't there.
So why does tech matter? Paper is static, care is dynamic, and that mismatch can lead to delays, missed risks, or extra stress for already stretched teams. So why should we implement tech? Why should we change? How many of you have spent ages rewriting the same notes, hunting for care plans, or chasing signatures? Well, tech can actually give you a safer, faster decision-making. You're able to spot risks early, alert the right people, avoid hospital admissions. An NHS-owned digital company developed a remote monitoring solution that enabled care home staff to record residents' vitals using a digital app. This helped reduce hospital admissions by 25% because they were able to spot the risk early. You'll be able to have more time for care. No more rewriting the same information. Notes on the go. Staff go home with less stress, and you can create more time for the people you care for. In 2020, it was estimated that about 40% of care providers implemented a digital care note system. In 2025, that's jumped up to about 60%. And if we follow on this trend, in 2030, we'll be able to have about 80% to 90% of care providers who have implemented it. Staff are already reporting that it's saving about 30 minutes per shift thanks to digital notes, allowing staff to go home with less stress, and potentially they're able to go home on time. 3, continuity and quality. Preferences, needs, medications are all there in real time. Families feel reassured, staff feel reassured, people we support feel reassured. CQC will be able to start to see a clearer picture of care. And lastly, empowering the people we support. Absent not just the organisation, but those who live within it. Going digital can lead to residents having more say in their care, able to track goals, connect with family, or use those tools to help their well-being and getting them engaged to reduce that isolation they may be feeling.
Before you even open a brochure or book a supplier demo, you need to stop and ask the single most important question: why are we doing this? Sounds simple, but it's amazing how often we skip this step. We get excited about features, functionality, or funding deadlines, but tech is never the goal, it's the tool. And if we're not clear on the purpose, we risk ending up with a shiny solution in search of a problem, which could also be a giant waste of time, money, and effort. So stop, ask. What issue are we trying to solve? Are we trying to reduce duplicate paperwork, improve audit readiness, give staff more face time with residents, raise staff morale, improve service user independence? Every trial needs a clearly articulated why, because that's the beginning and the end of your roadmap. It informs every decision from here on, from stakeholder engagement to training needs to how success is measured. So you know your why. The next question: who does this change serve? Too often, technology trials are framed from the provider's perspective. It will save time, it will help us manage our risk, it will reduce the agency spend. But where else could it impact? How will this improve the lives of the people we support? Will it help someone stay in their own home longer? Make a support plan more personal, reduce loneliness or distress? We also need to consider staff themselves. Will this tool make their jobs easier or more complex? Will it genuinely support them or just shift already admin-heavy workload into a digital format that brings no real benefit? And don't forget families. Will this build trust, improve transparency, make it easier for them to be involved? Next ask, is this the right time to do this? Can we support the trial with enough leadership time, actual digital capacity, the techie bit? Do we need to improve our infrastructure first? Will the team be able to cope, or are we layering change on top of an already stretched workforce who may struggle? It's okay to delay a trial if you're not ready, but it's not okay to run one half-heartedly. Poorly managed trials don't just waste time, they damage trust and create resistance that's hard to reverse. And think beyond the trial. If the tech works, do we have the budget, the training structure, and the overall infrastructure in the company to roll it out sustainably? Also remember to consider, does this support our compliance obligations? Every tech trial should consider the regulatory environment it sits within. Does it support safer care, better documentation, stronger data protection? Ask your commissioners and regulators what they think. Neither want you to avoid innovation. They want to see that you're approaching it thoughtfully, ethically, and with the right governance in place. Finally, remember this. You're not running a tech project, you're building a learning culture that revolves around improving the lives of the people we support. This isn't just about rolling out devices or dashboards. It's about encouraging curiosity, openness to change, and reflection. If the team sees this as just another top-down initiative, it will fail, no matter how good the tech is. But if they see it as an opportunity to shape something new, give their feedback, and be recognised, then even a failed trial becomes a success. So start with your why, make it visible, return to it often, because if everyone knows the purpose, they'll help you achieve it.
So the 5 rules for your trial. Rule 1, start small and low risk. You don't need to start with AI or sensors in every room. Start with a low risk area where the benefits are clear and the risks are manageable. A full transformation can feel overwhelming. You may get resistance or burnout, so actually potentially consider switching from paper records to a digital care record, using an app for medication reminders, just not your mobile phones. or potentially digitalising staff schedules so they know when they're working and they can plan ahead. Small wins lead to big change. In the sector where trust, safety, and being human is at the heart of everything. So introducing tech in a low-risk way means people stay at the centre and innovation becomes something we do with the sector, not to it.
Rule 2, involve the right people. One of the biggest reasons tech trial fails isn't because the technology is flawed, it's because the people who had to use it weren't involved early on. You can have the best digital tool on the market, but if it lands as a surprise to your team, or if people feel change is being done to them instead of with them, you'll face resistance, confusion, or even quiet sabotage. So this rule is simple but powerful. Involve the right people early, not just a tick box, but to shape the trial, get staff buy-in and build trust from the outset. Frontline staff, they're the ones who'll be using the tech day in, day out. They'll know within minutes what works, what doesn't, and where the friction points are. So bring them into the decision-making and design process. Pick a representative group to pilot the tool. Let them test real workflows. Ask them where things feel clunky. Create space for honest feedback. Don't wait till the end. Provide opportunities throughout the trial. What you don't know, you can't fix. And most importantly, act on what they tell you. When staff see that their input is shaping decisions, they become champions, not critics. And that cultural shift can make or break any trial. Service users and their families. We often underestimate how important it is to include them in tech decisions, but digital care isn't always just a back office upgrade. It affects real people, their routines, their privacy, their trust in your service. If you're trialling a digital record system, will families have access to it? If you're using sensors, do people understand what data is being collected and why? Get consent clearly, explain the purpose simply, and be ready to respond to concerns with compassion, not defensiveness. Their inclusion is essential. Then your external stakeholders, regulators, safeguarding teams, even local GPs and district nurses if they interact with your service. Too often we involve these voices after a problem arises, but early engagement is much more effective. Bring them in at the planning stage, share your goals, ask what concerns they'd want addressed, show them your plan, risk management approach, and data protection measures. When regulators see that you're thinking things through, they don't try to stop you, they want you to succeed. Once everyone's involved, communicate clearly. Share the why, the purpose behind the trial, the what, what's going to change and what won't, and the how. How will it be evaluated, how feedback will be collected, and how success will be judged. Be transparent, set expectations, be inclusive.
Rule 3, communication and documentation. Communicate the change early and often. Nobody likes being surprised by change, especially this sector. Communicate the why, the what, the how of the trial. Include staff, families, and people we support. Set expectations around what will change and how will feedback be gathered. All of the wonderful things that Guide Innovation do, of course. But also document everything. It's not just for regulators, but it's to help stay accountable to the team. Document why did we choose that tech? How is it going to be trialed? What does success look like, not just for me, but for everybody else? How will you access risks and respond? Lessons learned, what worked, what didn't work? When we take the time to document our decisions, manage expectations, and gather real feedback, we create a culture of learning, not blame. And that's exactly what we need. We need a safe space to innovate, reflect, and grow.
Rule 4, use an ethical, transparent framework. When you introduce any new technology in social care, especially something digital, you're asking people to trust you with data, with routines, and sometimes with very intimate aspects of their lives. That's why an ethical, transparent framework isn't a nice to have, it's a must. It's the foundation for every trial you run, because even if the tech works beautifully, if your team or your service users don't trust the process, the project will fail. Essentially, ethics and transparency are what help people feel safe during any change. Start with informed consent. If you're collecting data, and almost all tech does, you need to be crystal clear on what's being collected, who has access, how long it's stored, and what happens if the trial ends. Explain it in plain English, not legal jargon, and make it easy for staff and service users to say no or to ask questions. This is particularly important with vulnerable populations where capacity to consent may vary. Then document your approach. Is data encrypted? Who can access it? How is consent tracked? What happens to the data post-trial? Transparency here isn't just a regulatory tick in a box, it's a show of respect. And it's how you create informed collaboration instead of reluctant compliance. What if it doesn't work? Every ethical framework needs a plan B. What happens if the tech fails? What happens if the pilot is abandoned? Can you switch back to paper? Can you protect people from disruption? Having a clear backup plan isn't a sign of weak commitment, it's a sign of strong leadership. It shows regulators you've thought things through. It reassures staff that they're not just being set up to fail, and it tells service users that their well-being comes first no matter what. Also think about data legacy. What happens to the data after the trial? Will it be deleted, migrated, archived securely? This is a crucial part of your duty of care. Transparency also means setting limits and managing expectations. Be honest about what the trial is and isn't. Maybe it's not about a full-scale change, it's about exploring a single function and improving one aspect of service delivery. Let people know how success will be measured, let them see the criteria, and let them contribute to shaping it where possible. That honesty builds credibility, especially if you end up choosing not to adopt the technology after the trial. If people understand the process, they're far more likely to accept the outcome, whatever that may be. When you use an ethical, transparent framework, the outcome isn't just a better trial, it's a stronger culture, one with openness, critical thinking, and shared accountability. And that is what makes innovation not only possible, but sustainable.
So that brings us on to rule 5, which is fail fast. Every safe trial needs a plan B. Can we switch back to paper if needed? How will we communicate any change of direction with the trial? What happens to the data if the trial ends? Regulators aren't expecting perfection. They're expecting that you thought it through. Trying something new doesn't mean we're locking ourselves in. That's why we do need to be prepared for a plan B. Having a clear exit plan doesn't mean we're expecting failure. It means that we're managing change responsibly. Knowing when to step back, how to step back, switch systems if things didn't go as planned. It builds confidence. So fail fast and learn faster.
Overall, as a sector, we still need a shift. We are risk avoidant and we need to focus on managing it well. We work in a sector where there is a considerable oversight from multiple sources, which causes additional pressures. But regardless of this, we are responsible and accountable for ensuring the health, safety, and well-being of those we support. Therefore, avoiding risk wherever possible might feel safe in the short term. In the long term, it locks you into outdated practices, inefficiencies, and missed opportunities. Managing risk well means trialling with purpose, being clear about the why, gathering feedback, involving your people, and having a plan B. It means documenting the process, learning from the missteps, and sharing the outcomes, even when things don't go as planned. Just look at the tech available now. Digital care planning, EMR, remote monitoring, rostering systems, LMS, assistive tech, robots. These tools are designed to make care better, not riskier. But they only help if you engage with them, if you trial, evaluate, and adopt the ones that fit with your service, as well as recognizing when something simply doesn't work and defaulting to your plan B. Start somewhere. Need to shift your mindset. You don't need to leap into AI and predictive analytics. Start with rostering. Start with digitizing your daily notes or care planning. Pick one thing, trial it well, and learn. That's how you build confidence, and that's how you de-risk innovation.
So, where are you in your digital journey? Every organization is at a different point in their journey, whether they're just starting it or finishing it off. But wherever you are in your journey, understanding the regulatory landscape is key to making a digital transformation not only sustainable, but also compliant. But we also need to keep things moving forward with intention, be realistic, be curious, and don't be afraid to ask what could be next.